identifying and fulfilling financial needs, educating clients on banking products, as well as fostering lasting relationships, all while strategically managing risk. Before that, she honed her expertise at the Royal Bank of the Caribbean, working across personal and business banking divisions. Her career spans human resources, information technology, and the medical industry. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you have a powerhouse here coming up on stage and a powerhouse team of experts to have this conversation with. I also asked her what else she enjoyed. I don't know, I'm wondering. So there's target shooting, spa, and sailing. So I just love it. Diverse group. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ashley. You just run up on stage, you're like, let's just get it. Let's just do this. Okay. So I'm going to join them here in the hot seat, and we're going to ask a few questions of them. But again, please make a note of any questions you'd like to ask. All right. So welcome to the panel. I'm really, really excited to have you. I have a laundry list of questions that I have to ask you, but I actually want to keep this very organic, and it's a conversation, and I'd love for the audience to be a part of that. And, just listening to what we were hearing with our keynote speaker, there's some things that I probably will throw in there that you may not have anticipated, but we love a little excitement. Okay, so I'm going to start with you, Joshua, from an investment perspective, because we were hearing about the challenges that some small businesses face when they're looking for funding. So from the perspective of an angel investor, what are the types of businesses or industries that people are currently most interested in when it comes to raising capital?
Well, there are certainly hot industries. There are things like AI right now, but fundamentally, and what I would speak to other angel investors about is invest in what you know. Invest in something that you have an affinity towards. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a restaurant business, you may invest in a restaurant supply business or something that's adjacent to it. As an angel investor, when you do that, number one, you know the critical success factors for that business or for that type of business. What are the key things that the entrepreneur should be looking at? Mm-hmm. And number two, angel investors are investing their own personal money into these projects. Mm-hmm. They want to know that they can have a positive impact, that they can help the business succeed. These are generally not passive investments where you just put money into the stock market or a very large company. This is exactly the opposite. It's into a small company that you want to have contact, and you want to make sure that that's going to be a success and that your involvement with it will help it be a success.
And that's interesting that you say that, because the first thing that you were like, you're connecting from the level of what is the industry or the area of expertise for that investor. So again, I think that's very important. Oh my goodness, we haven't even started and I'm already making notes, because this is where it goes back to networking and understanding. When you're going to an investor, what is their area of expertise? What is it that really will fuel your interest as well to make you look at that proposal? So I hope we are all taking copious notes. There are notepads, or if you want to use your phone, there are notepads over there for those who want to write anything down. But I actually have a follow-up question for you, Joshua, on that. So you've gotten all these proposals coming to you, you're looking at them, you're evaluating them. What is the pitch that will be most compelling to you, that will set itself apart from anything else you're looking at?
From a pure pitch point of view, I like to see that the entrepreneur knows about the market that they're entering into. Mm-hmm. It isn't just something that they've seen from afar. I think it might be an interesting opportunity. They may have some adjacent experience or have some family member that's been involved in it, but they understand the market that they're entering into in a specific business. There are other key things that I like to see in a pitch. Mm-hmm. I want to hear that it's not just an idea on paper. If this is so compelling, they should have started down the road towards accomplishing something, towards finding a first customer or some initial revenue, or even somebody to try all this service out with the product. There's a lot of those core things that I'd like to see.
And I guess, again, I like to reiterate that you know the market you're in. Because it's one thing to have a good idea, it's another thing to understand the playing field, right? Yeah.
And one other area if I may is that a business is revenue and expenses. I don't want to see a plan that's just how I'm going to spend money or how I'm going to raise money to do something. I like to see how are you going to go to market, how are you going to get your customers, how are you going to get the revenue side of things, not just how are you going to spend money. That's not business.
So we understand what has to be in the proposal up front. And if I can then, I move to Felix. I know you, from a banking perspective, you're going to get loan applications. So move from, all right, we're pitching to an investor, an angel investor, to going to a financial institution, a bank. What are you looking for when you get that application?
Thank you. Great question. It's good to be here. So wise people in front of me. I'll pick something too. But so one of the things I'm looking for is, if you come into I won't say traditional, but you come into a financial institution for financing, you have to have a reason, you have to have a purpose. I know some of my customers I love, but sometimes they just want a loan and they're not really clear. What's the purpose of that loan? Why the loan? Why you didn't come to me 6 months ago when we did the car loan? And we have to hear, so a little bit of strategy and organization for that. One of the next things I'm looking for is, I'm looking for their ability to repay. Now this is a loan. It's not a love gift. It's not an offering. It's not, hey boo. No, this is a professional, a loan between you and myself, the terms and agreement. You came into my door, we shook hands, we provide information. I gave you what you asked for, the best of my ability. Now you have agreed. That agreement has to do with repayment. Now, a lot of times, and the wonderful keynote speaker just on the stage, she's pretty much saying our doors are open as the banks in the Cayman Islands. Our doors have always been open. The challenge is when you came to the door, you left something. You left the financial literacy, you left the accountancy, you don't have an accountant. You write it down in a notepad. Now that notepad might be sufficient because she mentioned that. But how do we extract that and give our adjudicators confidence that this is the true information because we need to validate it? So what's the purpose? What do you need it for? Next move I would be like, okay then, how are you going to repay? If we can establish those two things, all the other KYC, let's work on that. The last thing I would say, how have you dealt with past financial institutions? Now you're a business. You might be in your business name, you might be a 60% shareholder, or you might be a sole trader 100%, but you're a reflection of your business. So we need to know how are you doing financially on a personal level? How are you managing your personal finance? Because a lot of times the roadblocks is also how that person, even with business, really good business plan, but on your personal side, the legacy hasn't been that great with credit checks, with different things. So the idea is that the bank automatically says, no, the bank makes money off of money. Therefore, help me put money in your pocket by presenting and providing the necessary confidence, either an investor, like my brother here, or different banks. So potential loan request, what you need it for, be very clear. Do you have the ability to repay? Thirdly, there's more to it, but this is what I look for as a filter. How have you dealt with your personal finances? And I know if you dealt with your personal finance, your mortgage payment, or your credit card payment, everything overdue, you've done all these different things, you had previous loans. Hey, I can tell my advisors and my go-to team, let's help this friend of mine. So, hope that helps.
Actually, that does, because Stacey mentioned it as well, and we have to reiterate this. There's a need for financial literacy. And, I know Thais and her team will be noting that, and I know they do lots of lunch and learns and sessions on that. But I think the emphasis on that, we just have to keep reiterating that. And it's interesting because you say even your personal history, right? So people are thinking I'm coming for a loan.
We can forgive you. We always live here. Things collapse and there's different factors in the market. We had COVID, so money was down for the. We look at all of that, right? But generally speaking, we need to see the consistency of being a good customer. you know? And if there's any times that you have been hardship, it has to be an explanation.
Right.
Because I've had circumstances for clients, especially coming after COVID, to raise products, different things like that. It's a little while, so we're lenient, but it has to be reviewed and it has to be presented and it has to be validated.
Okay, so that is also.
We don't write you off.
Ah.
Have an explanation.
Yeah.
We can probably assist.
And that's very good to know. So just because there's an issue doesn't mean that's the end all and be all. If you have the explanation, there's still the potential for the loan and for support. Well, I want to ask an entrepreneur here on the panel who has several successful businesses. From your perspective, you know, and your journey, this is good because we're hearing what the investor wants, we're hearing what the banking institution may be looking for, but you haven't gone through a process. You know, what has it been and what practical advice can you give to people in terms of getting ready for this part of your journey and as to be able to raise capital?
My first advice on any business, know the business you're getting into, do the research, and most importantly, do the business plan. Your business plan will actually drive that business, it will drive you to look at all the costs associated with that business. There's many costs that you don't even think about prior to doing the business plan, but once you're working through that, you'll actually put all of those figures in, all the numbers, many things I didn't think about, you know, when I thought about purchasing a business. But as I went through that and spoke to a friend of mine who knows business plans and helped me redo mine, reshape it, put all the numbers in, look at what the true cost of the business would be, how much startup capital I needed, whether I was going to use the bank to finance it, or I was going to do retail investment, which I have an option to do, or look at funding it myself.
Yeah.
From a personal loan, from savings. But do the plan, and at the end, I decided I was going to actually go to a financial institution. So I went, and I must say, Ms. Stacey advice that she gave was almost spot on. A month later, after approaching the bank, I had all the capital I needed to actually start and purchase the business, order new stock, start the business, hire staff, and operating capital for at least 6 months. So if I didn't make a dollar, I knew that I actually had enough capital to run my business for 6 months.
Right.
The bank said, no, Tom, do it for a year. I said, you know what? I want to do it for 6 months. I know where there is additional capital for me. I can go back to drawing for my savings and invest in the business through a personal loan from me. So, you know, I actually did it that way. And I found that the banks were more than happy to actually invest in that business with me because they saw that work had been done. I had actually done all the work, or they thought I had done all the work, and then they told me, well, what about insurance fees? Stop. I was like, oh, we can do that too. You know, of course. Suppose you get billed for it, or some person steals it, and go, okay. But, you know, I did that through an insurance policy, which was, I should say, it grows as your business grows.
Okay.
But, you know, it was quite affordable. And, you know, there's always something you're going to miss, even doing the business plan. But, you know, be ready to actually keep looking at your business plan, see how you're performing against it.
Right.
You know, and every dollar you make in a business, make sure you deposit it in the bank. Every cent.
Okay.
So that every transaction you've done to that business, not only you seeing it, your auditors at the end of the year are seeing it, your banker, I think they're looking at it probably better more than I do. But, you know, because they're calling you, you need anything else? Is there any other business you want to do? You know, once they see you doing well, the banks are there, the financial institutions to support you. And, you know, I was in cohort number 2 of the Cayman Business Development. I don't like to say how old that's long. So I just use business development cohort and the stuff they do there and impart in you is so beneficial to actually growing, especially someone like me, project manager and architect, you know, we work alone.
Right.
We actually don't work with big teams. We use resources as we need them, and then they get dumped along the way and we use other resources. But you know, to actually work through what they did is amazing. Teach you how to work with other people, how to help plan for them, how to coach, and all those sort of things. You know, you take on more staff, three people that help you do that. And it's amazing. I would say anyone that's going to do business like me that comes from a technical background, and make sure you do some business classes or something to bring you up to speed and understand what you're going to face. So never stop learning, right?
Yeah.
Let's go on.
And I like that because you have actually flagged something, because there are areas we sit well in. So in your case, you understood from a technical perspective, but you also worked alone. So it's the understanding and working with an entity like CICBD that you got what you needed, that if you were, you know, businesses to grow, you have the knowledge and the know-how to expand appropriately and accordingly, but also to get the resources and the things that you need for your support. Because the truth is, in a small business, you end up doing everything, right? But it doesn't mean you like doing everything. You might want to be the creative, but you just don't want to do the books. Or, you know, so it's being realistic about the resources that we need in order to support the business that we're doing. And if it is that it's not our passion area, then we need to get professional expertise. So, Sasha, the question I have for you then, because we heard from Thomas on how it went and how well it went, but when you come to somebody who said, well, I thought I did everything I needed to do, and I still wasn't able to get the capital or raise the capital I wanted, what are some of the things that are reasons that you could share why you might be denied funding?
There are varied reasons as to why you would be denied funding, and that can also fit under a business cycle. Now, looking at a startup, the insufficient track record when it comes to not having any customers, not having any users, or revenue coming in, or personal investment or collateral will get you denied. Now, when looking at an established business, it could be bad credit on your personal or business side. It could be insufficient track record. It could be that your growth with your revenue, and this could be a contributing factor to that, is what's been discussed on the plan. What is your business plan? There is no strategies in place, there's no goals to attain to, no validations to be met. So that growth did not take place like it should. Now, I wouldn't say that poor or inadequate financials will get you denied. However, when an adjudicator takes a look at financial statements that are not solid, or financial projections that are overestimated or undersupported, it brings unnecessary scrutiny. Business owners need to show that the business is low risk, well managed, and financially sound.
So, may I jump in? Sure. Just want to clarify for everyone that angel investing or sometimes friends and family money into a business is a more informal source of funding for startups. There's definitely a role for some businesses to go through that process, the informal financing, and there's certainly a role for bank financing as well. In slightly more mature businesses or businesses that have a little bit more of a track record or possibly acquire an existing business. So the type of startup funding that I provide is complementary to the bank type financing. Both can be used, they're just part of the same spectrum of possibilities for different types of businesses.
And it's interesting that you say that because for some of us, it's friends and family, that kind of informal investment into our businesses to get it off the ground. And the question I have for you then, Joshua, is, well then, what is the red flags for you? So you said, you mentioned, okay, in terms of when you're coming to an angel investor, might be a little bit of a difference there, but there are still things that you will kind of cause concern for you looking at or listening to a pitch. So what would that be?
I want to see evidence of momentum. So a red flag would be somebody who just comes with just an idea. They haven't actually done something to develop the business or to start it forward or to talk to a first potential customer or talk to others in the market. So not having that momentum, just having only a plan is insufficient and sort of a red flag there. As in a similar manner to how banks do lending and look for reference checks, that's another thing is I always look for references and research references and call friends and past business associates of people that I'm investing in. And a single bad review or bad thing is enough of a red flag. But fundamentally, we are investing in people more so than in businesses, and I want to know that it's a good person to back.
So if you owe anybody money, please pay it back. You can't expect you to ask for money because Josh is going to call. And the person that calls is going to be the one that says, they still owe me money from 2 years ago. And we laugh, but that's a serious thing because now you understand how the bank is going to do their research, but now you're hearing from Joshua what an angel investor will do. They will call friends and family. So, as fun as it sounds, you got to clear the debt. And make sure that there's a good, they can give you a good review, even if you didn't clear it right away.
Right,
Review.
even if there's still something outstanding you owe them,
Yes.
have they kept in good touch with you? Have they been upfront and forward about their problem, financial difficulty in repaying? That's sufficient. It doesn't necessarily have to be proof of repayment.
Yeah. Okay. And both you and Sasha said something interesting. For people who are starting up, it's either the customer or the potential customer. Right? So you're saying that it isn't just enough to have a plan, but you need to know that there is a customer that they are servicing, correct? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I like to see a first customer, even if they're only paying $1. Super discounted to whatever your product or service is, but you've proven that you can create something and that somebody is interested in working with you.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're only charging $1 for the service, somebody is giving you feedback on what you're doing. And that's really the important part. So with that first dollar of revenue, you've shown you've built something, you've gone through the whole life cycle, and that you're working and listening to customers.
Okay. All right. And then Sasha, just going back to you as this one. So then if they don't necessarily meet the full requirements then for a loan, what advice would you give to them? So say they're coming and they don't necessarily have everything. What's it that you're saying to them?
If they don't have the necessary requirements,
The full, at least
meet
meet
the
the
full
full.
requirements, I would say take a look at what the reasons are that you don't. Is it limited time in the business, or is there an area in your credit history that needs to be worked on? Because depending on whether it's a delinquency or whether it is a write-off, these things can be worked out with the bank. And in different situations, there are reasons behind those, so you can provide it. Say it's your financials. You can strengthen your financials by looking at your expenses. I've met clients that have offices within offices to lower their overhead. There is areas that you can manage receivables and increase revenue. I would say speak with seasoned entrepreneurs and investors. These individuals can give you a clear understanding of the ins and outs of how the business works and how to deal with any issues that may arise. If it has to do with your financial discipline, look at, well, I would say definitely speak with CICBD. They do have workshops in place or are looking to put workshops in place that can help you have a clearer understanding. But take time to understand the tool and so that you don't over-invest before you find market fit. Look at your growth and stability and how you're going to get there. Look at your customers. Are you servicing them, their needs, their wants? Are you looking at solving their issues? Are you networking to sell that product? Are you interviewing your customers or testing assumptions within that area? Are you looking at your metrics? Like what you were discussing when your business plan doesn't show anything along the lines of your retention or your engagement or how your measures of any product or attraction or revenue. All of these areas, once you work on them and get them to optimal level, you will see substantial growth within your business. And one of the last things is learning. Industries are constantly changing no matter which one you're in. So if it means you doing research online, if it means you attending courses at college, or if it means you reaching out to CIC for the workshops that they have, do so. It does create an impact in areas from managing the business overall and how to lead it properly, how to understand and lead your finances, how to deal with your customers, how to network, how to get in touch with individuals like investors that can help you, or even banks, whether it's myself or Proven Bank or Felix, or maybe even speaking with someone like you, because you said you had over 35 years in the business, right? That can assist you in building your business.
You said something that really resonates with me because I've heard entrepreneurs say that sometimes when you're doing your business, it feels like a very lonely process, and you feel like you're alone in this. So the fact that you're saying you have to have conversations with people who have been in the business, very experienced entrepreneurs are important. And so I will have another question then for Thomas, as one of those persons with that type of experience. You mentioned the bank had to ask you about insurance for your product, right? So what were some of the key lessons or mistakes you made when you were trying to acquire funding and raise capital at the beginning that you will be able to share? Because again, this goes to some of us who are in this room who are looking to start a business for the first time.
The biggest lesson I learned was basically just sticking to your plan. If you stick to your plan and look at all the indicators, see where you are, how you're performing against that, it's worked pretty good for me. The one thing that happened right at the beginning of my business was COVID. So that 6 months was so of capital was so needed because I still had to pay employees pensions, all that had to be paid with no cash coming in. And luckily there was a pension mortgage, but you still had to pay health insurance, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So luckily for me, I had some capital, extra capital, that I hadn't borrowed from the bank, but I did have it in savings. So, but it depleted my savings right off the bat. So here I am, 6 months into the business, with my savings that I've worked for almost 35 years, almost depleted. And I was wondering, how do I get this back? I hired someone who was doing all my pricing. Make sure your pricing guys are right for your product or your service. Because I worked like a dog for the first year, and at the end of it, when I sat down with my accountant, because he's separate and apart from the business, he was someone who come in, look at the accounts for a whole year, did the audit of it, and he said, "You're selling a lot of product, but you're not making a lot of money." And I'm like, "Well, what was the problem? Your product isn't priced right." And he repriced everything. And in 2 months, you could feel the difference. You could see the difference in the book. You know, so I would say, if there's one thing I learned, and I would pass on to anyone else, make sure your service or your product is adequately priced for the market you're in. Because back then, you can be working hard, you can be selling units, but if you don't have the right return on those products, then you're doing it all for long.
But you're talking about a very scary thing, because for some of us as entrepreneurs, this idea of pricing scares the jeebers out of us, because we're like, am I going to price myself out in the market? You know, am I too high? You know, is my customer going to pay this? There's a lot of doubt around that, so it's interesting that you say that.
And it's, you know, don't believe you can do everything yourself. You know, hire the people that have the knowledge in that area. You know, your accountant is the guy, the financial guru, who will actually tell you, you know, this is the price, I've checked the market, this is what you can charge for your good, and this is where you'll make money. However, you know, when you're trying to get market penetration, you're a new kid on the block, you're trying to get in there, you want to have a penetration point, but not at the point of hurting yourself.
But before we go, I just want to add on as an entrepreneur. In a sense, like, you know, came out to me, and he came out and everybody family member had a business, right? And Tommy made a good point, proper pricing. Culturally speaking, we feel that we can't ask for a price. So we personally don't believe in our personal value. And from different cultures, they come with that value, clear value. This is what it is, this is, I'm a consultant, it's 10,000. You don't pay it, I'll get another customer. And I say that because value attracts value. If you have a poverty mindset about your business, not in a dollar figure, but impoverished thought about your business, you're going to attract that. But if you have value on that, me as a potential customer, I'm going to purchase that, I'm going to look at that, I'm going to see that value. And I can get a watch or a pants at a different place and all that different stuff. But when I come to Tommy saw me. Tommy got coffee waiting on me. Tommy got a special closet right there. He got a shirt and idea. He probed me. He saw what I like from the last purchase. He texted me and said, look what I got. He's engaging. And even though I came to spend $100, I ended up spending $350. Not because I'm going anyway, but the clothes going to make me feel good. What about the ladies in the salon? You don't think you can skip? No, you cannot skip your hairdo. You know why? Because presenting yourself to the world in a certain way allows you to project your value. And your value is projected, and that bases your interaction and how you feel. Guys at the barbershop, I'm not skipping, I'm bald head. And I can probably shave this myself. But that $20 not gonna kill me to sit down for 15 minutes every 2 weeks to feel good, to look good. And I'm saying this to you because, yeah, you can probably charge $10. But guys, do you believe it's worth $10? No, you believe it's worth more. They never see you stay up late, ordering your suppliers, haggling people to get price points, guys. So it might look hard at the beginning, it might feel weird, and it might take a week or 2 or 3, whatever. But you see when you get that first purchase at the right value, you're going to think different about your business. So that is my little injection here to the next question, but please place value on what you do because you're valuable.
Preach there, Felix. Preach. I think that's a very important point because I hear quite a few of the entrepreneurs struggle with that, and it's the idea of the value proposition. So I'm going to raise 2 quick questions with you all, and then we're going to open the floor because I can chat you all day, but I know that they want to ask questions, so please have your questions ready. I'm going to start with you then, Felix, and say, in your experience, Do investors then, or the financial institutions, tend to prioritize experience over age when you're evaluating a new business for funding? So is it an experience versus age? And then are you seeing a shift in the ideas and the types of proposals that you're seeing? Because I heard a gentleman ask, about even paying with crypto and blockchain and so on, and I would have come to you with that. But yeah, so is there, what are you seeing? Is there prioritization over age or experience?
I love the word that Stacey used, we're being transformative, we're transitioning, and there's momentum in the direction and to think outside the box. I don't look at ageism, because sometimes there are older people with experience but still act childish, forgive me, in the world that is trying to know. And there might be young people that even though they're 25 or 30 years old or even younger, that they have matured because life and circumstance has forced them to look at things differently. So here's 4 things I want to talk about in regards to the Schaefer experience. Knowledge. My brother here said, you got to know what you invest in, you got to know your business. Somebody asked Kobe Bryant what he invests in, said, I only invest in things that I'm knowledgeable. Or I have a team around me that's very knowledgeable. I'm not investing in a salon, I'm not about a salon. But you got triplex. I know real estate, I know I can do a ROI on it, etc. So know your knowledge, sacrifice. Now, as an investor, he wants to see that sacrifice. I sold 5 units, I sold 10 units. You know how I got this? You know what? My dad took out a cash advance of $5,000 on the ATM and he gave that to me. I did this, I did that. I was able to double that or even 50% got a return after a while. We need to see sacrifice. If I'm going to be a bank or a private investor to you, what's your personal sacrifice? Where is it? Is it tangible? Has that sacrifice led you to create something that we can put a price point on? So knowledge, sacrifice, experience. Now, experience is not in a sense of like time, a time stamp on that, but based on your investment, based on that knowledge, based on that sacrifice, that has created experience. So do you have that? And then lastly, is there an opportunity? Because they ask Sasha, when you get people to decline, one of the best things I say, it's not a no, it's a not yet. And let's examine the gaps of the not yet. So are we creating a business that is 5 years in advance? So maybe we got a shelf it, or maybe we got have a little thing and keep the momentum going and research about when the market is ready, when the policy in a certain industry changes, when technology increases. I want to be ready with my potential partner buying situation to do that. So what the shift that needs to happen is people need to be more knowledgeable and partner with that knowledge. If you look at any big business in Cayman that has succeeded, no one person had everything. We can look at Digicel, I don't tell you the details of Digicel, but one person was a banking relationship, so they had funding. One person had the links with the corporation. Another. This is how people start. In our culture, Caymanian speaking, we think that if we share our ideas with a confidant or something, they must steal it. That's happened in the past. But there is different non-disclosures you can sign. But the reality is, I can make 10,000 on my own. But with you, I can make 25,000, you can make 25,000. We have to be open to partnership and have healthy partnerships. And that's the thing too, when you're choosing a bank, guys, understand the services and the products that the bank delivers and make sure it's a good fit. It's like dating, it's like a relationship. As a bank, I get upset, I'm not gonna tell you, but I'll tell you since this is a forum. I get upset when people got 4 or 5 different bank accounts, and now I have to review all of this stuff. And if you just choose one bank, and the main bank, or your main retail or your main income coming, that bank is able to examine your request quicker than anybody else in Cayman Islands. If you go into approving and you bank with Prune, I guarantee you, Stacey, her team is going to be able to examine your request and validate your stuff. If you come to me and you bank approval, guess what I'm gonna ask you? I need statements, I need this, I need all that. Now, there might be a reason also relationships collapse because people break up. Maybe you weren't a perfect fit, maybe things happen and vice versa. Maybe there's a bad credit that I don't know about, the proven told you about it, now you want to run to me and hide it from me. Don't lie, because one of the criteria on the application is that we find out that the information is wrong, we can decline it right away. So I'm telling you, knowledge, have it, experience, look for opportunity, don't look at age. A young person can teach you something, an older person can teach you something. Choose the right bank for yourself. and narrow the focus. Because if you narrow the focus in your banking relationship, you're gonna have greater wins.
Okay.
All right?
All
I
right.
hope that helps.
Okay. Then they come after.
I could be running after this.
All right, so before I open the floor for questions very quickly, I have one for you, Joshua. Just, we're talking about the shift and what we're seeing with the technology. And as blockchain continues to evolve, how do you see the potential impact on the future of small businesses, especially in terms when you're looking at access to capital?
So my field of expertise, if I had to sum it up, is entrepreneurial finance, and blockchain has had tremendous impact already on everything in entrepreneurial finance. It's still not accessible to everybody, but there are some examples of how it's changing the whole field. Number one, there could be better access to investors. So again, if you're looking for people who have an affinity towards your type of business or your industry, you may be able to find more globally and source that. Another example is being able to tokenize some of your assets or some of your equity in your business. If you are creating a ice cream business that's going to sell ice cream on 7 Mile Beach on hot days, you might be able to take a portion of your revenue and essentially sell those as tokens, that promise, that portion of your business. And you may find a lot of people who think that's a great idea and might be able to buy that or buy into that aspect. Additionally, there's DeFi, decentralized finance, where both lending and borrowing are possible online through blockchain. On the lending side, you may have idle assets that you want to earn interest, and there are places that you can deposit those on very short term to earn interest on your excess cash. On the borrowing side, you can find a lot more people to borrow from, and it's especially interesting for individuals online who don't have access to traditional credit. So, for example, I'm working with a business that does loans for YouTube creators.
Okay.
And those people that are creating content have regular revenue because they have maybe tens of thousands of viewers of their video, but they just don't have access to bank credit. But perhaps they need a loan to buy some production equipment to be able to have better lighting and a new camera. So having access to borrowing that's non-bank borrowing is another kind of innovation that we're seeing there. And I can go on, but it's really blockchain has, or rather is, revolutionizing entrepreneurial finance.
And it's interesting because a lot of us don't quite understand, that industry. We don't understand the technology. We hear certain terms, and I'm not going to lie. I have to, go on ChatGPT and Claude and have it broken down for me. So for those people who are feeling nervous about that, what would you like to say to them? And I know, that was a throw question, but I just thought about that. There are people who are thinking, I'm hearing this, I'm a YouTube creator, et cetera, I want access to it, but I don't fully understand this world. Are there resources or suggestions?
I don't really have any great suggestions. It's not very accessible yet to find all of these. So Shifa is a course on islands.
Okay.
that will help people learn about that. So don't forget about that. Thank you. But these are still emerging, so we will see a lot of these grow, and access to these grow over time. And right now, it's still informal channels and some education that you'll have to seek out in order to take advantage of these.
What is the risk involved? Is there? Sorry, I'm sorry. I told them I might have some random questions. This is one, because it just sparked, because there are people who are risk averse. They want to go the traditional route.
Yeah, the user experience as an entrepreneur to access these types of things is still very poor. It's still very hard to use a lot of these platforms. You have additional risks if, for example, if you're using cryptocurrency or even stable coins online. You have to custody those yourself. If you lose your password, you've lost your assets. You can't call your bank up and say, please reset the password so I have access again. So tremendous risks that still exist there, and poor user experience.
Okay, I'm going to stop now. All right, so questions. I'm going to ask, there's the microphone coming around. I'm going to open the floor. Are there questions that you want to ask the panel? Oh, right over here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, fellow panelists. My question is to Mr. Tommy Vance. As a business owner, do you host seminars or small classes for youth who may be interested in pursuing business like yours? Additionally, do you engage with individuals in correctional facilities, particularly those who are preparing for reintegration into society by offering guidance or mentorship to help them transition? Thank you.
Two-part question, so try to answer the first one. No, I don't get involved in any classes, but I do refer people to Center for Business Development because I think they actually do a much better job of teaching than I ever could do. In terms of mentorship, we have, since we've opened, we've had a student from, I think it's called SciFac.
Yes.
Each year, and then we get a few from John Gray through the Rotary program, and we've been taking them on 2 at a time, and we take them on for 4 weeks at a time. So we go through about 8 students each year, and we've seen them now. Some of the SciFac are off to university. When they come back, they come in and say hello and ask me a few questions, you know, because while they're there, I try to work with them because we have the Sherwood University that also you can go online and do different courses in customer service and mixology and pigmentation, so many different aspects. The Sherwood owns so many things that people don't even know. The carpet you're sitting on today is owned by Sherwood. The ceilings in this building is Sherwood. The partitions are Sherwood. But we look at it as only paint, but they own about 50 companies, and they actually are a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company. So, you know, I try to expose the young people to as much of that as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, we have 2. 1 and 3.
Good evening, everyone. This question is more geared towards Joshua. Speaking of the cryptocurrencies, and you mentioning that there are lending options in there. One of the biggest problems us entrepreneurs have is access to like angel investors and investors outside the banking system. Is there any way that a lender in crypto can reasonably affect a business entrepreneur here in the Cayman Islands, since we have no way of getting funds in?
There are a few platforms that do have a reasonable user interface, user experience that you can apply to for loans. There's one that I'm involved with that does equipment lending for small businesses. There was the Creator-Fi that I mentioned as well. If you're a YouTube creator, a content creator, people on the island have equal access to those platforms and can seek those out. There's probably half a dozen others that I could talk to later. So that type of lending or alternative lending is accessible today.
Yeah, but the banks in Cayman are not allowing you to inbound funds from any crypto platform.
There are some methods, and some of them, even though they are blockchain-based technologies that they use, they still lend US dollars. So it's just because it's using blockchain technology on the background doesn't mean it's all cryptocurrency related.
And the banks are allowing those to come in because a little experiences I've physically had is the banks are like saying if it's anywhere crypto related, they weren't allowing the funds to come inbound to Cayman.
Happy to speak to that topic a bit more one-on-one with some of the experiences. There are some challenges, but I believe that the industry is moving in the correct direction.
We have a question over here. Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to ask a question. I think it's general, but maybe skewed towards Josh a little bit. One of the reasons I think there might be a disconnect between Caymanian entrepreneurs and finding angel investors or venture capital funds or these kind of traditional forms of funding that we associate with early stage investment is the fact that what you're looking for from the investment perspective is some kind of way to get your money back, right? So that leaves entrepreneurs with a couple of choices. One of those choices is they end up selling to another company, so they exit via sale. One of those options is they continue to operate and eventually get to a place where they can pay out dividends, and that's kind of like a long-term strategy. But that means it will likely be a generational business, which is very slow, and the gains might not be as high as an investor might want. And the other option, traditionally in other geographies, has been a public market, which Cayman kind of doesn't really have sparked activity on, right? So thinking about it from the perspective of entrepreneurs here and looking across the table at people that are looking to get their money back, where do you see sort of the moment for alignment for entrepreneurs here to connect on the knowledge that one of these things has to happen in order for an investor to satiate their request to get their money back and then some?
Sure.
Josh kidding. What Josh was trying to tell you is that, hey, meet me outside. And as a bank, I never heard that, but I would say this, like, while there might be organized angel investors and, people that identify themselves as angel investors, I think be ready in season and out of season with your pitch. Because your investment is going to naturally happen over a dinner table, over a coffee table, over a glass of whiskey, over a cigar, in the airplane, sitting down to someone, what do you do, man? Actually, I sell sandals. Well, if there's 1 million people coming to the Cayman Islands, what make your sandals so great? Hey, after you use it is dissolved in the sand. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? No, I'm trying to be environmental friendly. I got $40,000. I just got an inheritance. I want to return that. I said, let's come back 3 months. I don't want money right away, but I want 30%. Now, if you're okay with that, no, you don't want that money right away. You see what I'm saying? So why are we thinking about an investor? You're thinking about a pound, you're thinking about somebody setting up. This is where your sacrifice is. Kind of feel out who the people are, the business people are. But you'd be surprised who got their hands and stuff in the Cayman Islands, just by conversation. So I hope that helps. And I think also too, we are looking back for our money back. Anybody that invests, like I said, it's not a gift. You are getting money back. So if we can decipher how that's going to look, and you and I can determine the exit of that, and if it doesn't work out for you, how do I feel safe with investing with you without not joking alien to get my money back, for example, and not be a loan shark? But is there an exit strategy that you and I have legally agreed on that if this goes, we can exit and we can still be friends in a sense?
If I can add,
I'll just bring it in.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add on to that, there's different types of investing that make sense for different types of businesses. If I'm investing in the innovative ice cream stand on 7 Mile Beach, I don't expect that to be a public company with an IPO. So there's a different type of financing that's appropriate. Sometimes it's debt, sometimes it's borrowing against it where you'll have more predictable cash flows. The type of investing that I do is more typically equity. So I want a piece of ownership of the company in return for what I'm doing. Sometimes there are cash flow-based financing. So perhaps I invest in the sandal business, and the return is that I want $1 for every sandal sold. Yep.
There's 1 million people come in here.
So there are
The government is going to okay the marketing in the airports.
Yeah. See me afterwards. So there are different types of financing based on what type of company you are and where you expect to be in the future. As an investor, I try to size up some idea of how I'm going to get a return or an exit. As much as I love kind of the altruistic part of working with entrepreneurs and building new businesses, fundamentally I'm investing because I expect some sort of return, and I got to figure out how am I likely to make that return in the future on my money.
Do we want to take one more question? Oh, we have to take both.
Hi, good evening. Just a quick one. So we've had 3 bank representatives here. And what then, in terms of the minimum loan amount, are you looking to give? Because we have a number of people here who are in the cottage industries, who are in small businesses. And they realistically are not going to be able to come in and, $100,000, and they might just be looking for $50,000, $10,000. So it's just to give people an idea of, okay, well, it doesn't make any sense to go to a traditional bank. It makes more sense to those smaller numbers, 15,000, 10,000, etc. So if we can get an idea of that.
So, and then I'm gonna pass it to Sasha here, because I think every Class A bank has a small business SME branch, and the people who are the directors and the owners and the leaders give us a target, right? And we want to make that target in a way with clients that are able to, repay, etc. And every loan might not be a good loan, but we don't look at clients as just a dollar figure, because that $5,000 person that you experience that you help in that time of need, they start up, you're going to treat them for their life cycle. So each province, Scotia, CIBC, we have parameters, we have thresholds that we can do unsecured for, and it's just you making sure you have those KYC financial information that both staff and Stacey and myself have shared with you. And this is where you tell us what's the purpose of the plan. But you may not need $100,000, you just need $30,000 or $20,000. And if you have some reporting, because Josh said you got to show that you sell that product a couple of times already, we could potentially partner. So we got to be realistic of that good relationship that is beneficial for you. So we are open for business, right, Stace? We're open and we're willing to help. I hope that every entrepreneur here, let you know that the banks here want to assist you. Let's tweak it, let's work together. You want to say something?
I agree, yes. Not everyone is seeking $100,000 loan, like Felix said. It could be 30 less K, it could be just for working capital to get ahead of receivables. So you just want to line of credit in that area. Now, once your paperwork is in place, anywhere from your bank statements or any questions that we ask you to answer them in detail. Be honest and provide any documentation that is requested. And you see, we are very willing to help. So.
I'll give you 2 extremes in 2 seconds. I had $1 million deal 1 month, and I had a $30,000 deal 1 month. You would ask me which deal I was more excited about. I was excited about the $30,000 deal because this woman had never borrowed money before. She owns her salon. It's 1 mile away from the bank. I can walk there. She tell me she needed the privacy, that she do spas, she do this, she do that. And a month later when I checked, guess what? The funds were injected into the company. She get the service. So I need you guys to partner with the banks, knowing that we value small business as well. And so whether it's $1 million or the 10,000, the care, the analytical skills, the review, and at your own merit, we're willing to help. So get ready so that we can help.
Okay, so with a last question over here, and then we are going to close the panel by asking each one of you to think about this question. And this is, what's the one piece of advice you're going to give this group in terms of preparing to raise capital this year? So preparing to raise capital this year, what's the one piece of advice you want to give this group? So the gentleman, and if you had a question, you're our last question.
While I sit here and you guys share about giving loans, I'm not sure what your investment is in the community, but I was saying, I think we need to create a platform for Caymanians, and people come from other jurisdictions that are entrepreneurial havens, where they'll teach them even how to make soap. And so someone come from Jamaica, Philippines, India, that all entrepreneurs, and they see a business there, they see the opportunity here. In Taiwan, in September, I think it is, they have a innovation trade show where they have primary school, high school, universities, hospitals, government employees, entrepreneurs who bring their innovation to the table annually. I think it's time for us to, I think we do have the ability, but it needs to be stimulated. And I think the banks, CIBB or CIBC, Scotiabank, and CICBD, I think it's time for us to create something like that, create a platform. And you also see more entrepreneurs there, and you have maybe a cash prize of whatever, X amount of dollars. And once you get that momentum, whether it's in sports, you start creating them from the time they're young, get your mind open to entrepreneurship and creativity. I think we'll start to do well with our people, and there'll be more business for you guys in the end. So I think it's something that you all should look into as a whole, government and private, and I think you'll get a positive result from it. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So I'm coming to thank you all for your questions. By the way, we're networking after this, so for those of you who have some questions that you may not have wanted to ask right here, you can do that at the networking. So Sasha, going to our last question, if you could just very quickly state, what is the one piece of advice you're giving for raising capital this year?
Investors are more discerning than ever. So growth without fundamentals won't cut it. For pre-revenue areas, make sure that your metrics are in place, such as how your customer acquisition costs, works for you, raising your marketing efficiency. Or if you're already revenue, how that dollar amount that is raised has a measurable impact on areas such as your product, and have your data ready.
One piece of advice you're giving to raise capital from. Yeah.
Don't be like me, I had a phobia for banks. I paid off my mortgage when I was 32. And I never go to the bank again until I retired from government at 55. So, my advice is utilize the banks. They're there to partner with us. Without us, investors and business people, there will be no banks. So let's actually do what the bank requires of us. And I like the one that they used about having that first customer. My first customer actually, at the end of it, I was able to pay off, if I wanted, the bank after my first customer made their purchase. My first customer was that big of a customer. I didn't. I used the money to earn funds from my business for the first 3 years to just reinvest in my business, to build my business. So use the banks. They're there, they want to help. Just give them what they require. And they can't say no.
Okay, all right, so Felix, they can't say no.
Yeah, I said no, not for you, Tom, man. First of all, have a vision for yourself and your business. Have that clear vision. Have that vision that if somebody, bumping you in a party, you can tell them about that right away. Not to be weird, but you have to know you have to be confident. You have to show that you value what you're potentially creating or will create. And then you guys, what I find for my customers are earning money. They earn it. But he makes $12,000, but I want to see $7,000 in the bank account. He said, boy, Felix, I got paid my staff. I got paid this. I said, EFT, bro. Transfer, do the credit. I said, because if we have those projections and are consistent, maintaining, we can record, your account is gonna like it, I gonna like it, I know your wife gonna like it. So she has signed on the account too. But what I'm trying to say is record, guys. And we're gonna have, let me ask you a question, be honest. Let's be honest. If I need $10,000 right now, and all you know about me is my smile, will you give it to me? Yes, I can give it. But what I'm trying to say is that, believe it or not, if you don't record properly and you don't have a proper plan, that is what it might be space for you. And I love your smile. And I know you invested in it. But let's back it up so we can help each other. Alright? I'm looking for my $10,000. So.
What he's saying when it comes to having cash and either holding it or making payments and you're taking it for your salary or your expenses, adjudicator can't see your cash. So there's nothing for them to look at to see how you're managing your finances.
Yeah. Also pay yourself. Okay, that's another one. Pay yourself. The accountant would say, you do draws out. Okay, great, you got $100,000 to draw, but come on guys, pay yourself that $7,000, that $5,000, that $4,000, even if it's $2,000, and pay yourself because that's gonna help you in the long run. She gonna give you more money, he's gonna give you more money, I'm giving you more money, but we got validated. Because guess what, lastly, you come to the bank for your business and you come to yourself for yourself. But your business is what generates the income for yourself and for the families and for the other things. So make sure you separate the two for longevity and proper accounting. She mentioned about commingling. Let's stop that. Open your bank account for your business. Yeah. That's good.
Thank you, Felix. And Joshua.
My piece of advice for raising money is have patience. Even whether you're doing informal financing or bank financing, it always takes longer. It always costs twice as much as you expect. Even myself, who've been on the funding side many times, I've also been an entrepreneur on the other side. Right now, for a company, I'm raising money for a company that I'm working on. It has taken more than twice as long as I expected. And I've been through this process many, many times before. So unfortunately, the advice is really you need patience. This will all take longer than expected. But fundamentally, you will get through the process and hopefully be able to build your great business.
Thank you all. Give them a round of applause. Sasha Linderson, Mr. Thomas Dubanis, Felix Manzanares, and Mr. Joshua Heck. And if you didn't hear anything, have a plan, know your market and your metrics, know your price, and have patience. Thank you all very much. Before we leave, Mr. Albert has a gift or a token of appreciation for all of you. He's going to come up and give that. And did you all enjoy all the information that was received today? Yes, you did. And I just want to say today, I hope you understood something that you could unlock for your business, yes? So we are unlocking, we're pitching and prospering. So Mr. Albert, thank you so much. All right. Alright, so we're going to go into some networking. So before I do that, let me just do a very quick thank you. I'm waiting just for last two. Okay. Okay. Thank you, CICBD. Alright, alright. And thank you, Pamela. So as I round up, thank you, Albert. I just want to say a quick thank you to the following persons and entities. To the Ministry for Financial Services and Commerce, our appreciation to our Chief Officer, Dr. Dax Basadeo, and all the staff who were here. I saw several people who joined with you. I want to thank our keynote speaker from Prune Bank, Ms. Stacy Belnavis. Thank you so much. Our panelists, Dr. Thomas Felix and Joshua. I also want to say I hope they did extremely well, but as I mentioned earlier, we had 5 participants doing a pitch to investors. So we give a special thank you to the participants of the Capital Quest program who are pitching in private to investors and bankers, and we want to thank all who supported that. We want to thank the Ritz-Carlton and their team for their hospitality. Special shout out to James, Mohammed, and Anthony. Thank you for making sure our mics and everything were working with our AV. We had photography by Social Butterfly. We had videography by Tunde. I hope I did justice to your name. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot to coordinate this event. And we have heard the reference to them consistently in terms of the support they give small businesses. So please give it up to the director, the Cayman Islands, yes, Thais, Center for Business Development, Ms. Thais Goosen. To Albert, to Romaine, to Asa, to Siko, to Rochelle, and to Candice. Congratulations, you all do a phenomenal job. Stuck it out to the end. I hope that you enjoyed what we shared today and for participating in the Raising Capital Forum hosted by the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development. Did you unlock something new today? Yes? Oh, okay. Like it in a hat. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I loved it. Yeah, the rest are like, hurry up, I think there's refreshments outside. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed this forum as we learn what it means if you need to raise capital. I would encourage you to go out there and with all this knowledge, unlock, pitch, and prosper. Good evening, everybody.